defending that goal to our left. The side that scored only 2 goals in their last 10 games. Crystal Palace in their normal claret shirts with a light blue stripe, and they've not had a win in their last 8 league games, so a win for either side would be enormously valuable this afternoon. Here's Roger Hine, number 6 for Crystal Palace. Looking for his fellow Scot Queen, and Barnett gathering for Arsenal. Peter Simpson. The first league visit by Arsenal to Selhurst Park, the first, in fact, league match between these two clubs. George Armstrong. All of us wondering how much Arsenal will be uplifted by that fine performance in Lisbon against Sporting Club in midweek. That goalless draw in the first cup. McNabb. And now Armstrong. Likes to take on that full-back, which he's done there very well, putting it across. Robertson not quite getting to it. Or rather, the ball not quite coming through to Robertson. And now it's Tony Taylor. Graham finding Samuels. Challenged by Queen, but holding it and shielding it well, and now getting it back again. Terry Neal, the man who gets married on Tuesday. Neal again. Skipper for today with Frank McClintock suspended. Loughlin to Taylor, this brave little Scot for Crystal Palace. But not a good pass from him. And now Robertson with a chance to show his speed. Loughlin covering him, pulling him down.
George, at that time, Betty Mee was the manager and Don Howe was the coach. How did that relationship work?
Oh, it worked really well, Dickie. I mean, Bertie was a tremendous administrator, and he knew his place. I mean, he wouldn't get involved, although at the end of the day, he was the boss. But Don was, in the early days, Don was very fiery, and obviously as you get older, you mellow a bit. But
a tremendous tactician.
Oh, Don was brilliant. I mean, a lot of the things I see today, I mean, he started, I mean, people always say we're a good defensive team, and really that started with Don. But, you know, it's to start from the front line, Dickie, forwards to midfield. But Don was tremendous enthusiasm. He's the same today. You know, you meet him and talk to him now, he's so enthusiastic about the game, as though he was only starting out. And Bertie, I mean, I think Bertie's the best manager I've worked with. Tremendous. He was good man management. He would talk to you. He knew if you had a problem.
And yet he didn't have a managerial background at all, did he?
No, he didn't. He was a physiotherapist at the club, and he was just a nice man. He's a gentleman, and obviously I think he inherited a good ship, but he topped it off by introducing Dave Sexton first of all. Dave was very good, and then Don took over. And the only thing I wish that we might have kept the team together a little bit longer. You know, I thought we broke up a little bit too quickly.
George Graham. Looking for Radford, and Radford finding Hine at the back, but here's Radford free now. Radford wide. And a year ago, this man was in such tremendous form that you felt that he would have picked that one off without any trouble. But obviously, with so few goals coming Arsenal's way, there's that nervousness and hesitancy about them in attack, and that was beautifully illustrated there. Robertson trying his luck on the far side, finding Graham. Radford trying to give Hine the slip. And he may well have done so. Robertson, missed the chance. Armstrong! George Armstrong, number 1. 5 minutes.
Well, Bobby, our man George on the spot at the right time there.
Yeah, you see, he wasn't on the left wing, although he was number 11. He popped up everywhere. He could be a defender if he had to be. You did well there, George. Good little finish. Although it was an easy goal. But Arsenal have got to be careful, you know, the old story, they've got to be careful. Straight after kick-off, you've got to be concentrating to
long
the
ball like this, and confusion in the Arsenal defence, George.
Yes, it was. I think the old Route 1 system was to start with Palace there, because that was exactly what Bob said. We lost concentration.
You recall that too, and
Yeah, well, now I do. I mean, it's funny when you watch the TV now, it does bring it back to you.
40-odd minutes without
Per
a goal.
Bartram, the number 11, getting the goal.
Within the space of a minute.
1-1.
Goal number 3 for him for Crystal Palace. Now Armstrong again. Still going on. And Robertson going in. And this time Bartram having equalised right back to clear. What a tremendous climax of the first half this is now. Caught. And now Taylor. Woodruff. In this excitement almost tripping over. Taylor to Hoadley. Now one to Tess Barnett. Instead Story. Now John Radford. And now Radford moving in again. And down goes Jackson to get it with ease. Arsenal with only 2 goals in the last 10 games, having scored one, must have felt they were on easy street. And yet, within a matter of seconds, they're pulled back to 1-1. Prepared to press them. Good running by Payne. And as well for Arsenal that he couldn't get it across because Queen was waiting. Tremendous piece of running by this man, David Payne. Corner to Crystal Palace. A chance for them to keep up the pressure. Kemba with it. McCormick right in the box there. Taylor running away. Hoadley to belt it through. Bartram can't reach it. Linesman is flagging for an infringement by Story on Bartram. And so a free kick to Crystal Palace.
$34,000 fans at Sellers Park. I always found it difficult to get there, Bobby. But what's it like to play there?
It was a nice bowl. It created a good atmosphere. First time I ever went to Palace was actually for the Army. Played for the Army against Crystal Palace in a friendly match. Budgie Byrne, a very young Budgie Byrne, was about 16 or 17 playing at that time.
A big crowd?
Big crowd, yeah. I think they have had something like 50,000 in Crystal Palace, you know, pre-war.
Your memories of that, George?
Yes, I mean, they do have a good group of supporters over at Palace. You can see it even today, but it's always a difficult game, especially for us, because it was a local derby game. So, you know, teams used to raise their game, as Bob will know, when Man United play. People do raise their game when they play against you.
Throw to the Palace, Payne with it. And Hine challenging hard for Palace now. George Graham. And McCormick losing out there to Robertson, but a goal kick. McCormick, who was well back there, but in fact has curiously played ahead of that back line for so much of this first half for Crystal Palace. Big raw-boned Scot from Glasgow. Tony Taylor. To John Laughlin, into Hyde. Straight to Story. To Graham. And now Robertson looks as though he may have slipped. Hoadley gets it across. Well, Radford out! Coolly behind for a corner. Radford not collecting it at all well with his head. Good piece of work on the left by Robertson, slipping the fullback. Radford, I suppose, ought to have made a little more of it, but a corner with Armstrong. Jackson's ball. And there goes the whistle for half-time. First half that really had a magnificent climax to it, with those 2 goals in a minute. First of all, this fellow, George Armstrong, number 11, putting Arsenal ahead, and Per Bartram, the Crystal Palace number 11, equalising a matter of seconds later. Well, a false start there. Mr. Jennings, in fact, sitting to the linesman, can he see with the sun in his eyes? But now Crystal Palace get us away at the start of the second half with a score 1-1, and the ball with Barnett, the Arsenal goalkeeper. Palace, who've only won 2 at home in the First Division this season, against Sunderland and against Stoke. Obviously badly needing a win to lift their morale a little bit, in the same way that Arsenal are, surprisingly finding themselves at 14th in the First Division to Palace's 18th. Here's McNabb putting it across. Radford in! And there it is by Radford! Right,
What a great striker John Radford was.
John was a terrific player, Dickie. I mean, he had all-round ability. You know, he was a great team player. And for a big lad, he had so much great technique. But, I mean, he knew where to make the runs. He was just so important to us in this time when the Arsenal had all the success. He was a great player.
He's a commanding figure too, isn't he?
Yeah. Never let you down, give all the big guys problems. And he was always, as I said, he chased back and worked for the team. But overall, I think he was very underestimated, Big John. I thought he had a lot more ability than people give him credit for.
Good in the air, too.
Oh, brilliant in the air, Bobby.
Tremendous in the air,
guy
yeah.
was tremendous in the air.
That's right.
I mean, that's, you know, in today's football, we don't see enough crosses and that type of thing, but I never used to look. I mean, I knew if I knocked a ball in the box, there's a chance of Big John being there or Ray Kennedy, you didn't have to look for them.
No. So far.
Yeah.
Samuels finding Armstrong. Radford trying a little flick off onto Armstrong's left foot, and a ricochet off McCormick. Good build-up there by Arsenal. And Jackson scrambling across his goal in one direction, and McCormick in the centre of the picture here, pointing. That deflection sending him scrambling the other way. Armstrong with the corner for Arsenal. And Radford again, getting in, flick in, a goal! Off Radford! His second goal of the game, and Arsenal's third. And that's twice that Crystal Palace have been caught by Radford with high balls that have come from the left, and that one from a static position, a corner. And Simpson getting it away. McCormick. Armstrong, leaving it for Graham. Rather desperate measures there by Hind. Radford going in again. And again, and now George Graham. A little 1-2, a chance for Graham. Oh, a magnificent goal by Graham. What a superb goal by Graham. That really is a tremendous goal. The first time that Arsenal scored 3 goals in a league game this season, let alone 4. And now they really are in the most dominant mood with something like 13 minutes of the second half gone to go into this very strong lead now with 3 goals in the first 12 minutes of the second half. Laughlin. into Kemba. And Simpson now coming forward. Arsenal hungry for the ball. George Graham. And Armstrong gone sprinting in. Beautiful play by Arsenal. Oh, and a magnificent goal by Radford. Oh, a tremendous goal.
Well, you said he didn't have great pace, but he showed a nice turn of speed then, George.
The game is different now, Dickie, but we went forward. You know, we didn't play square and backwards, we used to go forward.
Yeah. As I said at the beginning of the programme, running at defences.
But John gets a lot of credit, because, I mean, to be fair, that ball's only about a foot and a half off the ground when he headed it. It's a tremendous header.
But also, we saw in that flurry of goals, we saw George Graham.
George had great touch. George Graham had great touch, you see, and his timing of the pass where he put George in was just spot on. He also wasn't afraid to have a shot, George Graham. Liked a good pitch. I always used to think George liked a good pitch, you know. I always thought that George was always a good player at Wembley. If ever they got to the finals, George had that little class, could keep the ball on the floor. But Radford finished it off. John Radford finished it off, but it was a great Arsenal move from beginning to end.
What kind of influence did George have on the rest of the team?
Oh, George was, you know, he was a good spirit in the team. He's, you know, always have a laugh and a joke with him, but technically he was a tremendous player. I mean, the goal you've just seen, I've seen him do that on numerous occasions against the bigger sides. And so he scored some very important goals for Arsenal during the time he was there.
What was his nickname?
With George, Smoothie or Stroller.
Stroller.
Yeah.
That indicated maybe that he did stroll through a game.
Yeah, but he was tremendous lad, George. I mean, the spirit in the dressing room was always good, and I think that's important to any successful team.
That's the Crystal Palace box, and that tells its own story. Well, it may, of course, leave the midfield just that much more barren, which is where so much of it begins. Radford to Samuels, and now to Robertson. Fort. And Robertson getting in, Robertson, and now Radford. Can this be number 4? Just over. Well, Radford really looked to be on the way to getting number 4 there, and number 6 for Arsenal. Just over. Some very persistent work by Jimmy Robertson. Samuels back to cover and prepared to give away the corner from the attentions of Payne. Well back in defence there, John Samuels. McCormick and Hind have gone well forward for this Kemba corner. And McCormick getting in as well. And Arsenal having a fair bit of trouble getting it away. But of course, with so many Palace men coming forward now, there's always a chance for them to make a counter-attack pay if they make it come out of defence very quickly, like this. Radford, is this number 4 for him? It's not. And this is exactly the sort of thing that's open to Arsenal now, with Palace plunging men forward. If they can break quickly, that they may well find that the marking at the back of Crystal Palace is just that little bit sketchy. Woodruff. Simpson having been pulled forward. There might be a chance here for Crystal Palace. Oh, good save! Good save by Barnett. And a good shot indeed by this man, Bobby Woodruff. Timed that flick over to perfection, Jeff Barnett. Crowded penalty area. Just about every man, bar Laughlin and Jackson, now in that penalty area. 20 men in the penalty area now. Kemba a chance to drive it back in again. And the lone man who stayed back, Laughlin, chasing this ball into touch. Well, I would think that Don Howe in the middle can take a glowing report back to Bertie Mee about this one. And now Hoadley, who's staying well up there, trying a little 1-2, cannoning off Terry Neal, back to his goalkeeper Barnett. And there goes the final whistle for Arsenal's best performance of the season, this staggering 5-1 victory. A victory that sets problems indeed for Crystal Palace now. 3 of those Arsenal goals from John Radford, number 9. And 1 from the number 10, George Graham, a real scorcher. And he did really some magnificent work in midfield as well.
Well, apart from